Black played. On g4, pause the video and try to find white's next move. Queen a5 check. King h4. On b7. White's idea is to play pawn promotes to queen at b8 and take decisive advantage. Queen c6 was chosen by black. King a7. White is looking to play pawn promotes to queen at b8 and establish a winning position. Queen d7 was chosen by black. Queen e5. On g3. King b6. White wants to play pawn promotes to queen at b8. Queen d4 check. Queen takes d4 check. King h3. Queen d2. On g2. Queen h6 check. King g4. Queen bf4 mate and secure a stronghold in the game. On g2 played by black. Queen h2 check. King g5. Queen takes g2 check. King f6. Queen c6 check. Queen takes c6 check. King takes c6. King e5. White is dominating the board. Let's go to the next game. Black just played. On e5, pause the video and try to predict white's next move. On f5. On takes f5 check. Queen takes f5 check. King e7. Queen takes e5 check. King f7. Queen f5 check. King e8. On h7. Queen g7 check. King f3. White is aiming to play pawn promotes to queen at h8 check. Queen takes h8. Queen c8 check. King f7. Queen takes h8 and seizes the initiative. King d8 played by black. King f4. Queen c7 check. King g4. White is planning to play pawn promotes to queen at h8 check. King e7. Queen hf8 mate and establish a winning position. Queen h2 move preferred by black. Queen f6 check. King d7. Pawn promotes to queen at h8. Queen g2 check. White has a decisive advantage. Let's go to the next game. Black made a move. King g4. Pause the video to analyze white's next move. King g2. White is planning to play queen h3 mate and increase their advantage significantly. King h5 move preferred by black. Queen f3 check. Queen takes f3 check. King takes f3. King h4. King g2. King g4. On a4. King f4. On a5. On e5. On a6. On e4. On a7. White is aiming to play pawn promotes to queen at a8 and seize the initiative. On e3 played by black. On takes e3 check. King takes e3. On promotes to queen at a8. White is planning to play queen f3 check. King d2. King f2. On f4. Queen d5 check. King c3. King f3. On g4 check. King e4 and establish a winning position. On g4 black's loss is confirmed. Let's go to the next game. Black made a move. Queen takes f5. Pause the video to spot white's next move. Queen f6 check. Queen takes f6. On takes f6 check. King d7. On b4. White wants to play King d5. On a5. On takes a5 and take decisive advantage. King e6 was chosen by black. King e4. White wants to play King d4. King f5. King d5. On a5. Pawn takes a5 and increase their advantage significantly. Pawn a5 was chosen by black. Black's idea is to play pawn takes b4 and put immense pressure on the opponent. Pawn takes a5 was chosen by white. Pawn b4. King d4. White is aiming to play pawn a6. King d7. Pawn a7. King c7. Pawn promotes to queen at a8 and put immense pressure on the opponent. Pawn b3 played by black. Black's idea is to play pawn b2. King c5. Pawn promotes to queen at b1 and gain a significant edge. King c3 move preferred by white. White might go for king takes b3. King takes e5. King c4. King e6. King d4. King takes f6. King d5. King f5. Pawn a6 and dominate the board. King takes e5 move preferred by black. Pawn a6. White intends to play king takes b3. King takes f6. Pawn a7. King e5. King c4. King e6. King d4 and put immense pressure on the opponent. King takes f6 was chosen by black. King takes b3. King e5. Pawn a7. White is setting up to play king c4. King f4. King d4 and take decisive advantage. King e4 played by black. Pawn promotes to queen at a8 check. King f5 white has a decisive advantage. Let's go to the next game. Black just played queen b5 check. Pause the video to figure out white's next move. Queen takes b5. Pawn takes b5. Pawn h3. King h7. King d2. King g8. King c3. King g7. King b4. King f7. King a5. King e6. King b6. White is planning to play king takes c6 and take decisive advantage. King d7 played by black. Pawn h4. White intends to play pawn b4. King e6. King takes c6 and dominate the board. Pawn b4 move preferred by black. Pawn b3. White is preparing to play king b7. King e7. King takes c6 and dominate the board. King e7 move preferred by black. King takes c6. King e6. King b7. King f5. Pawn c6. King g4. Pawn c7. King f3. Pawn promotes to queen at c8. White wants to play queen c1. King e2. King c6. King f2. King takes d5. King e2. King c6 and secure a strong hold in the game. King takes e3. White is in a commanding position. Let's go to the next game. White played queen g1. Pause the video and try to predict black's next move. Queen takes g1 check. King takes g1. Pawn takes c5. King f2. King g7. King e3. White is planning to play king d3. King f6. King c4. King e5. King takes c5 and dominate the board. King f6 move preferred by black. Black might go for king e5. King d3. King f4. King c4. King g3. King takes c5. King takes g2. King c6. King takes f3 and establish a winning position. King d3 was chosen by white. White intends to play King c4, King e5. King takes c5 and gain a significant edge. King e6 played by black. King c3, King d6, King c4, King c6. Black might go for on f6, King d3, King b5, on e5, on takes e5, King e4, on c4, and secure a stronghold in the game. On e5 played by white. King b6. Black is setting up to play King c6, King d3, King d5, King e3. King takes e5 and increase their advantage significantly. King d5 move preferred by white. King b5, King e4, on c4, King e3, King b4. Black intends to play on c3, on f4, on takes f4 check. King takes f4, on c2, King g4, on promotes to queen at c1, and take decisive advantage. King d2 played by white. King b3. Black is looking to play on c3 check. King d1, King b2, King e2, on c2, on f4, on promotes to queen at c1, and put immense pressure on the opponent. King c1 move preferred by white. King c3. Black is planning to play King d3, on e6, on takes e6, and gain a significant edge. King b1 played by white. King d2, King a2, on c3, King b3, on c2, King c4, on promotes to queen at c1 check. King d5. Black is clearly ahead. Let's go to the next game. White made a move. Queen f8 check. Pause the video and try to predict black's next move. Queen g8. Black's idea is to play queen takes f8 and gain a significant edge. Queen e7 move preferred by white. Queen a8. Queen takes e5. On a2. Black is planning to play on promotes to queen at a1. Queen takes a1. Queen takes a1 and take decisive advantage. Queen a1 move preferred by white. Queen c8 check. On g4. White is preparing to play queen takes a2 and dominate the board. Queen c2 played by black. Black is planning to play queen b1. Queen takes a2. Queen takes a2 and establish a winning position. On g5 was chosen by white. On takes g5. King g2. On takes h4. Queen d4. Queen c1. Black's idea is to play on promotes to queen at a1. Queen takes a1. Queen takes a1 and establish a winning position. On f4 was chosen by white. Queen takes f4. Queen a1. Queen g3 check. King h1. Queen f3 check. King g1. Queen e2. Black might go for on h3. Queen takes a2. Queen takes a2. King f1. On h2. King e1. On promotes to queen at h1 mate and gain a significant edge. Queen c3 was chosen by white. Queen g4 check. King f1. On h3. King f2. Queen g2 check. King e3. Queen g3 check. King d4. Queen takes c3 check. King takes c3. On promotes to queen at a1 check. King c4. Black has a strong upper hand. Let's go to the next game. Black made a move. Queen c6. Pause the video and try to predict white's next move. Black is setting up to play Queen takes e8 and secure a stronghold in the game. Queen takes c6 was chosen by white. Pawn takes c6. On f4. King g8. King f2. On c5. King e3. King f7. King d3. King e6. King c4. White might go for king takes c5 and take decisive advantage. King d6 was chosen by black. On b4. White might go for pawn takes c5 check and put immense pressure on the opponent. Pawn takes b4 was chosen by black. King takes b4. King c6. King c4. King d6. King d4. On a5. On a4. King e7. King e5. King f8. King takes f5. King f7. On g4. King e8. King g6. White is planning to play king takes g7 and gain a significant edge. King f8 move preferred by black. On f5. King g8. On f6. White wants to play. On g5. Pawn takes f6. Pawn takes f6. King f8. King takes h6. King e8. King g6. King d7. Pawn h6 and gain a significant edge. Pawn takes f6 played by black. King takes f6. King f8. King g6. King e7. King takes h6. King d6. Black is outplayed. Let's go to the next game. Black made a move. Queen b6. Pause the video to spot white's next move. Black considers playing queen takes c5 and establish a winning position. Queen takes b6 was chosen by white. Pawn takes b6. King h2. King h6. King g3. White wants to play. King g4. Pawn g5. King f5. King h5. Pawn g3. Pawn g4. Pawn takes g4 check and seize the initiative. King g5 move preferred by black. King f3. White is setting up to play. King e4. King h4. King d5. Pawn g5. King c6. Pawn g4. Pawn takes g4 and increase their advantage significantly. King f5 move preferred by black. Pawn h4. Pawn g5. Black is aiming to play pawn takes h4 and put immense pressure on the opponent. Pawn h5 played by white. Pawn g4 check. King e3. King g5. Pawn g3. White's idea is to play king e4. Pawn g6. Pawn takes g6. King takes g6. King f4. King f6. King takes g4 and seize the initiative. Pawn g6 was chosen by black. Black intends to play pawn takes h5 and dominate the board. Pawn takes g6 played by white. King takes g6. King f4. King f6. King takes g4. King e5. King f3. King d5. Pawn g4. King c5. Pawn g5. White is preparing to play king e4. King takes b5. King d5. King b4. Pawn g6. King c3. King c6. King c4. Pawn g7 and take decisive advantage. King takes b5 was chosen by black. Pawn g6. King c4. King e4. White wants to play pawn g7. King c3. King e3 and dominate the board. King c3 move preferred by black. King d5. White wants to play. King c6. King c4. King takes b6 and put immense pressure on the opponent. King b4 played by black. King d4. King b3. On g7. White intends to play. Pawn promotes to rook at g8 and dominate the board. King b4 was chosen by black. Pawn promotes to queen at g8. On b5 white is in a commanding position. Let's go to the next game. White just played. Queen c5. Pause the video to analyze black's next move. On e3. Black might go for. On e2. King h2. Pawn promotes to queen at e1 and put immense pressure on the opponent. Pawn takes e3 move preferred by white. Queen d1 check. King f2. Queen f3 check. King e1. Queen takes g3 check. King d2. Queen takes h4. King c3. Queen h1. Queen b6. Queen f3. Queen g6 check. King h3. Black wants to play. Queen takes e3 check and secure a strong hold in the game. Queen h6 was chosen by white. King g2. King b4. On h4. Black is aiming to play. On h3. On e4. Queen takes e4 check and dominate the board. King a5 played by white. Queen a8 check. King b5. Queen e8 check. King a6. Queen a4 check. King b6. Queen e4. King a6. On h3. Queen g7 check. King f2. Black wants to play. Queen d3 check. King a7. On h2. Queen b7. Queen takes e3 check. King b8. Queen e4 and take decisive advantage. Queen c7 was chosen by white. On f4. Pawn takes f4. On h2. Queen a7 check. King e2. Black wants to play. Pawn promotes to queen at h1 and put immense pressure on the opponent. Queen b7 was chosen by white. Queen takes b7 check. King takes b7. King e3. Black is setting up to play. King takes f4 and increase their advantage significantly. On f5 move preferred by white. King d4. Black is preparing to play. King e5. King c8. King takes f5. King d8. King e5 and dominate the board. King c7 was chosen by white. King e5. On f6. King e6. Black is setting up to play. Pawn promotes to queen at h1 and increase their advantage significantly. On f7 move preferred by white. King takes f7. King d6. White is struggling to keep up. Let's go to the next game.